The recording's in progress. How are you all getting on? Elsa and I, we sort of got together and decided that we were being sort of guided, if you like, to get on and talk about what's going on or what we feel or perceive is going on from a planetary point of view. Not just planet Earth, but maybe influences from extraterrestrial sources. So that's hopefully when she turns up, we're going to be talking about that and how everybody, well, not everybody, but many, many people seem to be going through hell at the moment, very, very testing times, with all sorts of various complaints, particularly respiratory complaints, but also abdominal discomfort and all sorts of being sort of knocked off our feet with all these energies that are going on. And big increases in the so-called Schumann resonance, the Earth's vibratory resonance, possibly affected by these great big solar flares that are being emitted from our beautiful, used to be golden sun. So I'm just checking whether I've got this right. Let me just check to see if there's anything going on here with Mrs. Dillon. No messages. So yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but I've found the last month particularly, or maybe 5 weeks, particularly difficult. I did a half marathon, 13.1 miles, and it was minus, well, actually it was about 1 degree, but it was laden with a heavy, thick fog. And so I ran around in that and I felt okay, to be honest with you, except at about 10 miles, I could sort of feel my energy draining away. And then for 2 days, I felt particularly weird. Here she is. I will continue this story in a minute. Spinbeings.com. That sounds like a good site to get hold of. Elsa Dillon is connecting to the audio, which is always a good thing. There are two dates listed in the advert, Joe. Oh, well, there you go. I do my best. Right. Goodness gracious me. But what I'll do is after this is finished, I'll upload it onto there's Mela. Hello, Mela, my love. I'll upload it onto ah Mrs. Dillon. I'm just talking to the chaps, I'll just be with you in a moment. Yeah, I'll upload this onto YouTube after this, and then anybody can go if they prefer YouTube and stuff. I haven't got the facilities at the moment to do a YouTube and a Facebook Live. Um, but if it's meant to be, I'll get there. Elsa, good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Okay. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I was
What
just
about
telling
you?
the chaps that we and chapesses, we have to be awfully careful what we say these days. Chap. And you can see that there's a little smirk coming back on my face there. Thank God. Because I lost the key to lightheartedness for a bit over the last month or 5 weeks or so. And you and I got together, and we decided it might be a good idea just to get on, see what comes out, and just really try and explain in real terms what's happening with us and what's happening with the world. Because I don't know about you, Elsa, I found the last 4 to 5 weeks quite difficult, to be honest. I was just saying that I ran a half marathon in 1 degree and thick mist, horrible foggy stuff. And then 2 days later, I was rushed to hospital because I couldn't breathe properly. And I was given some antibiotics, which I don't normally take these things, but I just got the feeling, just take them, son, take them, you know. So I took them and then I started to get better, but I felt crap. I haven't fully recovered yet. In fact, I'm going to go for my first park run in the morning. And then my poor old mum passed away, and obviously that's affected me at a very deep level. And she actually passed away with bronchopneumonia. And then I was diagnosed with bronchopneumonia as well. And, maybe there's some sort of spiritual connection with that there, but I don't know. But I'm sort of glad that my mum's gone because the last year or two of her life there was no quality at all, really. She kept saying to me, son, I want to go home. I want to go home. And it's horrible. It was horrible. She was in a beautiful nursing home, I'll have to say that. And the staff were absolutely fantastic. And they were really, really upset when my mum went. But I got my prayer answered. I was holding her hand as she passed away, and it was great. It was, well, it wasn't great. Yeah, yeah, it was great actually, because there was a part of me that was looking at it almost scientifically. Anyway, her breathing just slowed down and then she just faded away. So I'm glad. I know that she's happy because every time I talk about my mum, I get my dad on this side here and my mum on this side. And then I get a thing going up my spine. So it's almost representative of the masculine, the feminine, the yin and the yang getting together. But I can see my mum trying to get away from me dad in the world of spirit, and carry on with the individual adventures. Anyway, what happened after that? Somebody broke into my bank account and stole a load of money. So that was the next thing that happened. And then there's just been absolutely loads. Oh yeah, the other thing is that the university I work for, the 40 million pound in debt, and because I'm an associate tutor, that means basically on a zero contract. So they just get us in when they need people. Well, they're going to get shut of all the associate tutors now. So if I was a mere mortal and projected any further than the end of my nose, that could bring in a feeling of fear to do with financial insecurity and all that stuff. But I'm sure that the world is set up for that purpose to see, because they are testing times. And finally, and I put some pictures up, I went to an AA meeting last Friday night because sometimes when I feel a bit off key, the best place for me is to go to an AA meeting. And while I was there, and it's something I don't do often, I've switched my phone off. And when I came out of the meeting, I put my phone back on and my wife had rang me half a dozen times. So I rang it up and she was completely and utterly distraught because a car had tumbled over, smashed down the fence on next door, came through there, tumbled over a few more times, hit a tree, and then bounded off and demolished the porch of our house. I know, and people have seen that. Um, but poor Catherine, you know, she was. This is why you and Catherine are like twins, to be honest with you, because she was heartbroken because the spider that she'd been looking after in the porch had disappeared, right? And she was more concerned about the spider, right? And I was more concerned about her and the state of the porch. So that was that one, and I know that if you two got talking together, you'd be able to share a lot of stories about animals and things because she gets me to stop if she sees a black bag in the road, just in case it's a badger. And so then there's another time when we were on the motorway as well, the auto route, and it was stopped because there was a whole load of ducks and we had to stop the traffic and we had to get all these ducks in our car and take them to a duck sanctuary. And the police arrived and helped to stop the traffic as well. And they started helping us to collect the ducks. So the car's full of duck shit now, right? But the ducks are happy now because we found somebody who looks after ducks at the back of their house. So this is my life really. And would I change it? Well, I would change it. There's a lot of things I'd change, including all this stuff that we seem to be going through at the moment, you know. And I don't like feeling unwell, but to be quite honest with you, I've felt like shit for a while now. But it seems to be lifting. I've got this underlying hopeful feeling. Um, and I think things seem to be lifting now. Anyway, other than that, it's just a sort of ordinary day, really. What about you?
Well, this feeling of unwell is what's making our emotions behave, react differently. And it's across the board. But, you just have to Google the spray, what's in the fog and things like this. And it's all the symptoms.
Yeah.
Bloating, nausea. I mean, Mila talks about it endlessly and she's great. She's, always helping everyone with that. But like nausea, heart palpitations, stroke, stroke. I mean, stroke. So you think you're having a heart attack, you're thinking you're having a stroke. A shifting and divorce, they're all the three big ones for sending you off the deep end,
Yeah.
you know, or open heart surgery. Like these are things that make you change the way you're behaving. So is it spirit doing it to us, or is it the puppeteers or whoever's doing it? It's happening. So you've got to, you can't keep playing the same tune with this big elephant in the room because you get kind of squishes you. And that's what, I mean, seriously, what you've just had this. I know. I was like, I was checking in on Dr. Joe to see if he was okay before his mum's ceremonies and things. And he goes, check out this. And he says, this car flipped over but like, it's a car flipped over right at his house back door. I didn't realize poor Catherine had to do it by herself.
Yeah.
So Catherine had to do it by herself because that's not normal for you to be at a meeting like that, right?
No, no. It was a setup that it was a
It was
setup.
a
It was
setup.
no, no, it was. There was no doubt. I have got no doubt about it because, and this is where the seriousness comes in. We're all being tested now to see whether we can use our soul's skills and attributes to navigate our way through this stuff that's going on. And there's part of me, like you, I don't know whether it's spirit that's doing this or whether it's being manipulated in a human way, but I think they're interacting, and I think that we are being tested to see if we can use these skills effectively to navigate our way through this. Because my whole thing now is that this is about emotional intelligence. It's how we handle our emotions, how we handle our energy, and how we handle our time as well. And what's coming up really is everyone's being faced now with the stuff that they used to do, the old habits, the defensive habits, and the appetitive habits, right? They're being sort of almost faced with them to say, this is what you've always done. You need to do the opposite now because this is the law of action and reaction. It's called karma. So you can think your way out of it, not. You've got to actually take an action now in order to equalize and level out this thing. And that's, Elsa, I work with lots and lots of people, and lots of people I know what's going on, but they can't take the action. So it's not the case isn't knowing what to do. It's lack of power that's the problem. And I know that the only way that we can get in touch with the power that can help us to take the action is to surrender to the process. I'm on one now because I'm having to talk to people who understand spiritual principles plus plus plus, but they're just not taking the actions in order to have the effect of reversing the spin, if you like. I'm sorry, I hijacked that there, but I think it's important that if you know, it's about talking the talk. Oh, lots and lots of people can do that. I've had to do it myself, but it's not just a case of that. You have to ground it by taking the opposite actions, generally speaking. Oops.
Or you have to embody it.
Yeah, yeah.
And this, me meeting you way back about this C Act,
Mm.
I'm living that every day. I see and I act. I see and I act. So if I'm not acting, they'll step it up a bit.
Yeah,
And so I go, okay, okay, please don't step it up anymore. I've had enough of stepping up. I'll act. So then I act. And so you got to, but if you're not in awareness of either, so sometimes you're in awareness of one or two, but if you're not in awareness of either, it's really tough. So then they act up.
yeah,
And so then you got all that going on as well. So you got to be able to handle the the ones that aren't seeing, so they're neither one or the other. Then you got the ones that are only seeing one, and then you got the ones that are seeing two. And a lot of the ones that are seeing too are just coming into the practice of it. So they're sometimes in it, sometimes not, sometimes in it, sometimes not. So you don't know who you're getting. 1 minute you're getting one minute you're getting two, 1 minute you're getting zero.
Yeah.
And just, it's rattling. And then you have a solar flare come through or fog. The fog, look, the fog, everyone thinks the fog's new. Fog was started in the UK way back in, I think, the Second World War. They used fog. They used it as a form of basically blanketing, hiding, screening.
Yeah.
Uh, but I remember reading way back about fog coming through London, the Great Fog, and it was quite a big thing. They used it a lot to weaken the soldiers. Yeah, so it and it worked. That's why they kept doing it. And the thing that's interesting is a lot of this stuff happens in places that are right next to us, all of us, in quarries, in mines, in sewage where they're treating water plants. This is where it's all happening because this is where they can spread it out on us. Who's doing it? I don't even, it doesn't really matter at this
No.
point.
No.
The main thing is how are you going to deal with it, like you
Exactly.
said.
Exactly.
So you have to do the best you can physically, but then you got to, the emotional side, I'm going to say, overrides the physical easy.
Well, to be honest with you, going through all this stuff, I've felt calm, relatively clear-minded, right? But there's a part of me that thinks, I'm pissed off with it already. I feel tested out completely. And then I get the sort of message, get over yourself, son. You're doing very well. And you see, it's easy for me because this thing that says to me or speaks to me or expresses, it says to me, have you had a drink today? And I'll say no. And then it says, well, you're still winning then, aren't you? And it's easy for me because it's like the sword of Damocles hanging over my head, that if I allow my emotional state, right, to get out of control, that it overpowers my thinking. And I've seen loads and loads of my friends in Alcoholics Anonymous, even after 25, 30, 40 years, some sort of situation arises, they lose their emotional calm, their thinking gets hijacked, and in that process, they've got no mental defense and they pick up a drink. I've seen it happen that many times, Elsa. So I know that I've got to be supremely sensitive to how am I feeling? How is my body? Do I feel relaxed? Do I feel emotionally calm? And is me thinking relatively clear? And if that's okay, I can carry on then and make a better decision. But it doesn't come to good and bad with me now. It comes to, is this thing that you're going to do next, is it healthy, Joseph, or is it harmful? And you already know the answer, so just pick the healthy option. And by the way, there's a few choices you can do. Which one feels the most enthusiastic? Pick that one then. It's like Bashar, Bashar, me mate Bashar. He'll say things like, go with your highest level of excitement, right? And choose that one. Your logical mind or your ego mind will not understand. In fact, it may balk against it, but nevertheless, have a word with it and just go with your heart. And since I've done that, Elsa, my life has transformed considerably because I used to be like the drama queen, oh my goodness, I was so negative. Everything was negative, and I used to be in this negative state and project into the future, which was also going to be negative. But I've learned over the years that it's taken hard training. I can feel when I've got some sort of threat going on, whether it be conscious or unconscious. I get a feeling of tension. And rather than go forward then and emotionally react in fight or flight, I've been trained to step backwards, then to open my heart, settle down, and then ask me heart, call that a prayer if you like. Please show me what's going on and please guide me to the correct action to take. And that's what I do all the time, Elsa. And I live my whole life like that now.
Well, it's interesting. You said that it comes through, you can feel it in your body.
Mm.
So when mine comes through, it comes through in a ringing in my ear. And then the voices, they go like a train station. They go, oh, here we go. And but it gets really painful, and then it gets closer and closer like this, a needle in my head. And then when they touch, that's just excruciating. And so it's almost when just about if I'm going to have a crying episode, which I don't have a lot, but I do, I'll cry. And it's funny because if I'm crying over watching a kid's video or something, I don't have the noise. But if I'm crying because I'm upset, boy, is that so there's different forms of crying and releasing. So when you say this feeling, I'm going somewhere with this. When you say this feeling comes through, if you can work out what it is, that feeling, because it will probably only be one thing all the time, you can go, there it is. And that's when I swear at it, you little shit. Like, there it is. I go, really? Are you back again? So, and then I have try and have an argument with it, and I go, okay, 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 I'll let it go. And then as soon as I stop, it just goes bang like this. So it's like an instant healing. So you said you feel it. Like, what do you feel it in your blood cells? Do you feel it up your spine? When you feel this coming on just before you feel like a drink, what do you feel? Like, I'm curious. Is it audio? Is it smell? Is it
Yeah,
an old
my sense of
memory
smell is massive. It's massive, and but I get a feeling in my gut, you know,
in your in your
because
gut?
it's an
Yeah.
ego, it's an ego threat, and my thing is solar plexus, right? I get that, and that's really my guide to what's going on. Because most people, or most of us, we process information four-fifths below the surface of our consciousness. It's like an iceberg analogy, you know, and you can just be sitting there peaceful and quiet and nothing seems to happen except suddenly there's a grip in the gut. That's like an indication to me that I need to inquire from my heart, what is this, please? Right. And this is it, you know, you talk about Jung a lot, Carl Jung. Well, I've done a lot of work with Carl Jung and the sort of, you know, making the unconscious conscious. And I think that we're all here for that purpose, really. You know, to me, this game that we're playing really is all about energy mastery. And it's all about understanding the different vibrations and the different levels of energy. And where I'm up to now is it's all about 12s to me now, except 13 to me is the Christ center, it's the heart, it's connected to the 12 cranial nerves. Each of those are representative of the 12 apostles, the 12 disciples. We're almost like going, if you're a Catholic, through the 12 stations of the cross now, which are like, you see what I mean? It's all 12. And the other thing is as well, there's also densities and different levels. So I've gone into, if anybody's interested, the thing that is closest, I get stuff in and I don't read for information now. I seem to read for confirmation of the stuff that's already coming in me. And the thing that's closest to it is something called Keylontic science. Keylontic, Keylontic science. And when I got it, I said, yes, this is it. And they talk about basically 15 dimensions, but 12 are accessible to all human beings. And to me, where I'm up to with it all is the cranial nerves, which basically they change the way that your face is shaped, right? So, you know, when the wind changes and you change the way your face, well, what actually happens is, to me, the Christ center is in right in the middle. The seat of the soul is right in the middle of these 12 um, you know, it's like a Merkaba really. It's the soul's dynamics really, Merkaba mechanics, right? But what happens is each one of those cranial nerves works at a different vibration. Each one represents a different intelligence or skill and a different stream of consciousness. And I think what's happening now is this great big wave of cleansing that's coming through is it's defragging it and it's unplugging all this stuff. So we're getting all this energy now from these 12 all in one go, right? And now we've got to learn breathing techniques and stretching techniques and movement techniques in order that we can handle and sit in the middle of it. And we become the master of the 12 now, and it's not the other way around. I'm going on a bit. I'm going somewhere with this, but it's also related to the 12 planets as well of Keylontic science, you know. And the thing about it is, I think that we're all here to maybe take the place of one of those disciples and its sort of archetype that it's associated with. So this is all about knowing how you process information, knowing how you feel when you're threatened at some level, whether consciously or unconsciously, and how you act upon that threat in order to neutralize it, really. So to me, it's all about disentangling ourselves from the web that we've weaved in the first half of our life. I almost see the first half of our life is where we entangle ourselves through egocentricity. And then the rest of our life then is disentangling ourselves from the web that we've created. Christ, I'm definitely on one. Over to you, quick.
Quick. All right. So apostle is the one's act all. So the apostle. So again, it's acting. That it's got to come into the embodiment of it. Um, and you said the you've got to how it's how see how you act in this to the other ones is the reaction of the other. So it's one to the other, right? So it's like how you said, be quick. Um, but if they're not behaving how they used to behave, the same game, this game's different. So this throws this game out, then this throws this game out, this throws this game out, this throws this game out. So this is how, through us all being ill through the fog, it's thrown all our games out, all of us. Some of us don't even have the end game through this. So everyone's game is now having to be, it's being forced to change.
Yeah, yeah,
So to try and avoid it and act like it's not happening is a game as well. And it's a game where you'll learn things in that as well. So, but if you can have an understanding for it and you can have these informations like Dr. Joe said, or just in the back of your head, it takes the ease off it and gives you an opportunity to view it in a different observation. And you might actually have a better result, a better feeling from it, rather than trying to force the old game. Because literally, the way it used to be, more than ever, cannot be played that way. And if people say about this whole disclosure thing, when's it going to happen? When are they going to, they're watching us. They're wanting to see how are you behaving better? Because the information they're going to bring out, they're going to really be game changers emotionally for, religions and how are they going to bring this out with us not even behaving well with just our emotions in our own health? So they're watching to see who are the way showers in bringing through information, and then they watch how the numbers perform, who's watching, who's listening, and they're watching how the medias change. And we're seeing it all the time. People think I'm counting the numbers. I'm not counting the numbers. I'm counting to see what they're doing. I count the numbers in social media, but I count it in other ways as well. How many people are out shopping? How many people aren't out shopping? Because when these fogs come through, it goes really quiet here. Like no one's driving around. I keep saying, is it just me or is it really quiet? Because everyone doesn't feel like, no one feels like doing anything. Everyone's tired.
yeah, yeah,
The cows don't want to walk around. They're just sitting in the paddock. They're resting. So, Um, by y- putting a wall up and going, I can't say that. I'll go and get have my addictions, or I'll go and behave the same way I used to. That's not going to work. Ignoring it doesn't work. Addictions doesn't work. You got to come at it at a different angle, and you might actually find something better in yourself as well. Along, which usually that's what happens, but you got to take one little tiny step each day towards it.
I
I
agree.
think that's what we're finding hard because we've been fed for so long that it has to be 9 to 5 routine. We're so it's so ingrained in us, this routine behavior, but to not have the routine now, just to turn it off. And you said this is testing times. I think that's brilliant because what they're doing is testing how tied the me's are, the ones are. That's what they're doing. They're testing times. That's what, if you had to sum up the quickening,
Yeah.
Dr. Joe just did it. That's it. That's the headliner. It's testing times. And they're testing time this way. They're testing time this way. They're testing time. Are you going to let go of time and come back to your senses, which is what the word time really is?
Yeah.
It's a sense. Or are you going to still believe the make believe of time? It's that time is running out for the human race. It's not the apocalypse, it's the program. And Dr. Joe just proved it by saying testing time. So,
But I get lines. They feed me with lines like, there's a phrase that says, "There's no time like the present," and I get, "Tell them, Joe, there's no time in the present." I think, "Oh, thanks very much." Right. So there's, and it's this eternity, and stuff like that, where there's no time. Eternity means living in the now moment and all this. And yesterday is history, and tomorrow is a mystery, you know. And it's really to tell them, Joe, because this is what they say to me all the time. Tell them this, Joe. Tell them this. And I go, no, they can't tell anybody. Just tell them this, Joe, that yesterday is history and tomorrow is a mystery. So if you're dwelling in the past, right, you're out of the present moment, right? If you go and so they say to this as well, tell them to stop expecting and tell them to start inspecting. And I say, what do you mean? Get them to stop looking outwards for the answers because the answers are already in them, right? So what they have to do is let go of the programs, because programs are timed as well, and the conditions that misdirect them away from the now moment. Just show them this simple breathing technique, get them to cultivate an inner smile, then their intuition then will guide them from one moment to the next. And I just want to say, I get clearly as well, is the 3D world is about instinct and intellect, right? That's instinct and intellect. When we move up into the lower heart, into the fourth dimension, right, we start to flip then. But it's just below the midpoint of the fourth dimension. That's where the rock bottom is. I know it seems paradoxical, but the rock bottom, right? But what happens is we get to that point and all hell lets loose. So we can either do one of two ways, right? We can either stop and surrender to the next level of our evolution, or we can go back again and try the old game again, right? So there's the difference between revolution and evolution. And people can't understand because they think they have to keep fighting and grit their teeth because the world tells them to do that. Grit your teeth. Yes, you can. You can do it. So the answer is to come to the point where I've tried everything now. I surrender, but we surrender to win. And in that surrender, we're almost like moved up then into the higher heart frequencies then, and things start to open up more. Our consciousness expands, we get more options, and we see things more clearly then. But in the process of opening up, when we have the spiritual awakening, a fury arises, right? Look what they've done to us. And I have to say, no, no, with all due respect, you signed up for this, right? In fact, you decided what the curriculum was, And that's what you're actually going through now here. Because in my understanding, you're here to experience all human emotions, the so-called positive ones and the so-called negative ones, so that you can have a full human experience. And when you've completed the program, then you can be called a master of your emotional self, and then you can pop off maybe to the next planet and start again on that adventure.
Yeah, then you got to do it all over again.
Exactly.
Well, what's so the word eternal means the word eternal is ease path, ease. So ease means all or alien, strong all. So eternal is us. So this word eternal is us. We are eternal. That's why you can still feel your mum.
Yeah,
We still hear your mum in the crows, but she's
yeah,
been very chatty.
yeah,
But so I can feel past pets and things, I can feel them because they're still eternal and their song or their tell still rings true in me. So they've left a mark in me and they'll leave a mark in someone else and they've left a mark in someone else. So they leave marks everywhere. So they become an apostle in us. And so it's so important how we react to the ones around us without reacting.
yeah.
Even though you really want to,
Yeah.
some of them you really, I
This
just want to,
this is true.
I've got some really good words to say, but like, wow. But so when Dr. I just, so Dr. Joe sends me this picture of it. By the way, this car's flipped over in the front of our house. And I said, the first thing I said to him, is it a red car? And he goes, yeah. And I go, oh. And so red car represents to me, it's coming. Um, we think you're ready. You're doing well. It's coming. The match is on its way. And I feel it. I know others feel it coming, and it is on its way. So um, enjoy the little bit more of quiet. We might have a little spike of fastness in the next week. Then we'll have a bit more of a like 3 or 4 weeks rest, and then it's going to be 3 or 4 months of. And in that doesn't mean that you're going to be completely off your game or unwell or anything. You can take the buzziness energy and use it as a tool for you if you know. If you don't know, you kind of get sucked up into it all and you get like a tornado effect. But if you know, it's like you're in the tornado and you'll be in a conscious move of the tornado. So you'll be able to use the you'll be able to use the force.
Yeah,
Literally. I'm
yeah.
starting to go, is it really Star Wars all the time? Star Wars and Nemo. Keeps going.
I
Um,
I know. See, you said eternal because ET, eternal.
yeah,
So there's ET there. But I've
it's
got some
alien.
messages. I've got some messages for you as well because the dog prophecy that we keep going on. I've just looked. One of our guests who's watched it is called Lauren Dogon, and I have a lot of links with the Dogon tribe, right? And Sirius as well. So there's all that stuff because I listened to your podcast with the chap the other night, and it was bells going off all the way through it. But I got tell her because she keep tell her that's you by the way. Sorry to be disrespectful, but tell her right because I keep getting Jackal and Anubis right. It never stops leaving me, and that's why I sent you that thing about the day. You see, here it comes now in a big way. So I'm right on blob here now. So it's in with me now. Jackal, Anubis. Then it got the Shroud of Tutankhamun, and then it got Jack Et. Jack E.T. Jack E.T. Right. And so then Jackal came in. Then I got Full Metal Jacket. And I looked up, I thought I've heard of that. I looked up the film, right? And then it was something about go suck on it, and I thought, oh, there's the link as well. I had about 1,000 synchronicities in all these things. But what I got was really is all about warriors now. It's all about the warriors of truth, really. And it's almost like the feminine is inspiring now the masculine to act as he should act now and to get back, get his big boy pants on and start standing up now, and stuff like this. So I don't know what all that means, but something else I get is Neptune. Neptune's coming up and Poseidon and all that stuff about the oceans. But what's come up about 7 times today is Atlas. And I thought, I wonder what Atlas is, right? And then I thought, I'm sure, because I get Charles Atlas, right? And he was like the dynamic muscle tension bloke to realign muscles. So this is all about realignment again. But Atlas is realigning us. Okay. And then I thought, I wonder what Atlas is. And it's the comet, right? The comet Tsu Chin Shan is called Atlas, right? I thought, how do they do this? This is like coming in. So I'm sitting with it all, and I get Joe. The simplicity of it is simple breathing, but also stretching exercises, plenty of water, but plenty of movement as well. So things like Tai Chi, Qigong, or even better, Falun Gong. Falun Gong, because Falun Gong use a really refined spiritual energy which causes the water to flow through the bloodstream, impact upon the stem cells, and start cleaning up everybody's act. But then I'll shut up after this now. But it's all about how the water travels through the connective tissue, because the connective tissue is where the magnetic energy meets the electrical energy through the intercession of the water. And it's the fourth phase of water because that's the superconducting fluid through which spirit works. And I say, that's nice. Thanks very much. Is there anything else? And they say, we'll tell you the rest next week.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Stay tuned. There's more on the way.
Oh, it's so cute. Is this what they give you before breakfast?
Yeah. It just comes in straight away.
Yeah. Well, I so Atlas is huge. So Atlas always appears after the red car. So the reason I asked you about the red car is I kept getting 3 cars red. Then so I get the 3 white cars, bang, bang, bang. It was like a movie, and then there'd be a red car. Now I don't go out that much. I go, okay. So if you're gonna do that again, happened again. I was like, okay, so the red car's presenting. It's in motion, all right. And then it was in the evening for me when I saw the picture of the red car. It's flipped over. So the ship has flipped. I was like, I will just put it at his front door or back door. We'll just place it right here just so they really see it. And I almost felt like I should did because I said, "Oh, well, is this how many more times is this going to happen?" And then I come home and see that, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry because I didn't just flipped." So it was like the poor little car had all these little tires up in the air. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So they wanted the feminine to deal with this by herself.
Yeah. I've got no doubt about that.
Yeah, and you said it's the warriors coming through. Well, let me tell you, Gemma's been she's home for a second and she's swinging the sword. It's coming through. It's Aries, and this is just confirming what I just said. It's Aries, and they are the warrior ones. I generally feel they're more feminine energy, and what happens in the chook pen, this is how I get my intel. What happens in the chook pen is when there's no roosters around, one of the females starts behaving like a rooster. Well, this has been quite evident the last few decades. Women have stepped up and have been, uh, there was a few shows, very famous shows on TV that made women more kind of masculine. where they took over man's role and female role, which I didn't personally find attractive in females. It didn't make me look at them in a soft way. But it's like they had to have that journey. And possibly it was training them for now because now they're saying, okay, well, what they're spraying above it has been depleting the masculine in us. A lot of it is bromine, I think.
Yeah,
Bromine depletes testosterone, but then it affects prostrogen as well. And what it does is it sits in all your little nooks and crannies in the body and it accumulates in multiple ways and it just makes you feel tired, but it stops you being a man. And so now it's like you said, Dr. Joe, it's the women going, okay, we know what they're doing. We know what's being done. Let's support the masculine because we need that. We need you guys. It doesn't work with just us. We've tried that way. It doesn't, it's no fun either. Let me tell you, it's so much more fun when we're all doing this together. And so now the women are going, come on, men, you're there. Let's support the men. Let's support the masculine. Let's get them healthy the best way we can so that they can feel the fullest that they can again. And it's a lot of ego, far out. What the,
yeah,
this, the ego is the ego is there to help us. So you don't get rid of the ego. But let me tell you, the ego will put up the biggest tantrum for all the programs that's been attacking it. Um, it's attacking money, it's attacking your health, it's attacking family, it's attacking our religions. Like they say spiritual warfare. This is really
yeah.
um so you have to prepare yourself. It's not a fight, but just prepare yourself so that when something crosses your path, like Dr. Joe said, he's been so calm with everything. I mean, seriously, okay, let's flip a car in front of his house, see how he deals with that one. And you're calm.
Well, I drove around the corner. All I could see was blue lights everywhere. So where we live, obviously the road was blocked off by a police car. I tried to get round and he said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Can't you see it's blocked off?" I said, "It's my house up there." Oh, he said, "Sorry, mate." So he got out of the way. I got to the house. There's five police cars, an ambulance, a recovery vehicle, and this only happened 2 months ago as well. So this is the second time within 2 months, right, that it's been right side our house, right? Now, here's the thing. The girl who was driving it was just a young 20-year-old girl, right? It's one of those roads where it's a cut-through road, so it's almost like a single track, but it's still 60 miles an hour or. So people come round the bend. She hit the fence on the other side of the road, flipped the car over. She must have tried to steer it that way. It's gone over, right? It rolled over apparently about 5 times and then came to a stop with our porch. It was the front of the house. So she got out unscathed. Right. Now, if that's not a miracle, I've got no idea. Anyway, so all I was concerned about was Catherine, and the cats and things like that, really. I'm in trouble at the moment, actually, because I came in last night late. And because there's no porch there, Griselda, our little cat, must have got out, and I didn't see her get out. So I've closed the door, gone to bed. Catherine came in this morning to say, Griselda's been out all night. I thought, oh my God. Anyway, we're not talking now for the moment, right? Because I've been a bloody idiot and I should have paid more attention. The normal stuff, right? But I don't know where I was going with this, but just to say, it's just like a program, one of these games where you have to get to the next level, but you've got to tune into a new skill that you've got. Well, that's what it seems like to me at the moment you know. And
Yeah.
I am
It's like,
calm. I was talking to the policeman, and I was just laughing and joking with them. you know, and Elsa, when my mum went and all that, obviously it got me, and I lost my sense of humor for a while, but then it's starting to come back now. So watch out, everybody. I'm on my way back, really. Can I just say one thing? And I think this is quite important. We are chemically poisoned now in all sorts of ways through our food, through what we breathe in. through the water that we drink and all that. Now we try and eat clean organic food. We're fortunate enough to be able to do that at the moment. We filtered our water, God knows how many times. So we try and keep clean in that regard. But I watched a program about radiation, especially like 4G, 5G, 6G. And in 20 years, the amount of radiation exposure that we've got now has quadrillioned, right? It's quadrillion times more exposure now. So we're basically suffering from radiation exposure. And some people believe that some of those things, that mist contains metallic particles and possibly even bacteria now in an attempt to make us weak and subservient. But what I've got told is tell them, Joe, here we go again. Tell them that everything's energy. And if they tune into their highest vibration by sinking and surrendering as deeply as they can, then that energy will neutralize the radiation, right? So this is a thing. So really, we're all being guided really to surrender and allow this protection. Because you mentioned ego. Ego, as far as AA is concerned, stands for edging God out. And you're saying before is, so it's edging spirit out. So it's misdirecting our natural energies away. And other things that do it as well is distractions with things like Netflix, Prime Video. And I'm not saying that not to watch them. I'm saying, but be aware that we're being radiated. Is everything all right?
No,
We're,
just looked out. There's fog.
all
I'm
right.
just,
Okay. Okay.
just like, damn.
But we're being irradiated all the time. And there's a view that there's a bacteria called Serratia marquescens that's actually being infiltrated and stuff. So I sit with this and I say to myself, is it possible? And if the answer is yes, is it probable? The answer is yes. Is it happening? The answer is yes. I have to go into my intuition. And sometimes, is it possible? That's nearly always yes. Is it probable? Maybe. Is it happening? Not yet. So I get a sort of intuitive guidance to say, don't be fearful, but remain cautious of these things and try and keep yourself physically in the best shape you can. And that's why I'm a bit disappointed with the last month to 5 weeks because I've missed me park run, I've missed me swimming and that because that offloads a lot of tension in me as well. But I'm making a comeback in the morning, hopefully.
Yeah, so maybe these challenging times is just going, okay, what do you really like, Dr. Joe? What do you want to go and do now? And so it's saying to you, okay, well, we've got big energy coming. What do you want to do? And you've just said you've got like a little forecast because you go, well, I love that, that, and that. So I'm going to go back to that because that makes me feel full.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what, you get kind of caught up in this. And it's like you can't not get caught up in it because you kind of have to there's certain things you just have to do here, with the ceremonies and the policemen. You had to do those things. You couldn't say, "I don't want to. I'm
Yeah.
going to bed."
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. You can't just go, "I'm just going to bed." You literally have to address it. So
I agree.
you've a- so you've addressed it. So you wore it for that hour that it happened. Because generally these things don't go for a long time. Have you noticed they only
Yeah.
go for like an hour or two,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's back to normal life. It's like whirlwind, 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 and then back to normal life. And they're going, "How you going? How you going?
Yeah.
How you going?" And then they'll go, "Do him another one."
Yeah.
I can see they're up there with their coffee going,
Oh, I
because
get that all the time. I get like,
I'm just like,
let's chuck this in and see how he gets on with this. Because I mean, when you've got no ego, what a joke. I hear people saying I'm egoless now. I think I'll behave. I'm still full of ego, and I know that, but I can spot it a mile off. And somebody said to me once, the ego dies half an hour after you do, right? But I agree, you see, because I think that a normal, healthy, balanced ego is basically the body mind structure of the human being. I think that's what the ego is. And it needs to be balanced. It's where it's misdirected, right? The problem with the human race, as far as I see it, is simply it's faulty logic and misdirected instinct. And I think that if we can get our logic clear and our instincts balanced, I think that's the peace of mind that we've been promised on the earth. And I think that's what this is all about. But we can't redirect the instincts because they're so powerful. We can't redirect the instincts using thought because thought isn't powerful enough. We have to get into our heart and say, please show me the actions that I need to take in order to redress the balance. And that's the hard part, you see. Why are you
So,
smiling like that?
because it does, it instincts and it doesn't really stinks.
Very good. Yeah, it's part
It
of the great
doesn't.
shift.
Shut up.
Right.
Oh, it is. It stinks. It really
Yeah.
does. It stinks, and it's okay. Just, but this is one of your senses. Is this is what animals do? They come up and they smell us and they see where you're at. And I can see by my cat and dog's reaction. I go, really? You're gonna treat me like that today? I've had a really doozy, and you can see like, oh, I'm not gonna hang around you. Look at you. Or they'll come and sniff you and go, you left me outside all night. You must pay.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens, right? Especially with the cat. You can't, the cat's got to be treated like royalty. So
Well, my wife's called Cat, so I'm
I,
getting it. I'm getting it from I'm getting it from all angles at the moment. But I have to explain and try and
oh,
explain simply. I didn't do it on purpose, so therefore
yeah,
it was an accident. And I
that
get,
doesn't cut
I
it.
get, I get that cold stare, that cold stare, right?
Well,
And I think,
well,
oh,
okay. I
yeah,
see her making breakfast,
yeah.
but it was your breakfast, but it's going to the cat.
And then I can feel myself, like the little boy. Would you like a cup of tea, darling? And I get the cold stare. I think, oh, just keep out of the way, Joe. Keep out of the way, right?
Yep.
But that's
It's
something else that's been coming to me, and I don't know whether you can work this out, but I keep getting Euphrates. And that Mesopotamian Sumerian triangle, the Tigris and the Euphrates. What's come to me this week is Nimrod. Nimrod. And I got torpedoes as well. So I got Torpedoes of Truth, Nimrod, and Uruk. And I looked up, I've heard of Uruk. So I looked up Uruk, and Uruk is Iraq, right? So I get taken back all the time, right, to Assyrian times and all these sort of things. So it comes back from ancient Egypt further back and it's going back in time, right? And I keep landing on the Tigris, Euphrates, and Iraq area. And I keep getting, watch this area, Joe, it's important. So whatever that means, somebody maybe can pick that up. It might be a message for somebody else, I don't know. But that's the sort of they're the influences that are coming in at the moment for me, and this seems to be repeating itself for some reason.
well, the Thai gas is it's saying how uh, we got here, but it's also the first um,
Yeah,
that when you say you're going back to the beginning, you're
yeah,
going back to the gases. So the the nobles,
yeah, 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 yeah,
that's what I'm getting. So that's
yeah.
why it comes back to it keeps saying come back to your senses. So this has been a really big topic to me, and I feel like it will assist time because time just wants to be sensed. Time doesn't want to be time because that's made up. It just wants to be sensed. So you got time and then you got money. Money is so people talk about make believe and that's silly and that's not real, that's nonsense and all this, but that's what money is. Money is literally some some dude made it up, went this will be a good idea. Let's use these instead. A coin.
Yeah.
That's its sense. They called it sense.
Yeah.
Whoever whoever put all this together is very intelligent.
Yeah.
So they said, let's make this sense. So we take it away from this sense. And so now everyone has bought into sense, and now we can play with them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we can take it away because it's in the bloodlines. We can give it to the ones we like. We can take it away. We can give it away, the ones we like. That's not enough. Let's give it to them in social media. So they give you the numbers. Another tri part of language and schooling, right?
Yeah.
So they give you this and this to keep you distracted so you don't come into everything we've just been talking about. So, but that is make believe. They're make believe things. If someone's made it up, and people go, but what you're talking about, make believe, I'm going, look, I hear what you're saying, that what I'm saying is make believe, maybe fairies and dragons, but let me tell you, there's many books and many pictures on dragons and fairies. What I'm talking about, there's nothing on this, what I'm talking about, because they don't want you to know about it. They don't
Uh,
want you to know about it, but they put it in front of us so obvious. And people go, well, that's a coincidence. Well, as soon as you start hearing coincidence, random, coinky dink, all those things, synchronicity, that's it. Jung, he was as batty as we are.
yeah.
He had books about how batty he was, and he kept them secret. He had, I love Jung. So this, I've spoke about this before, Dr. Joe. We had a red book and a black book, and they were called the Book of Answers. And Jung, this is what Jung had. He had the red book and the black book for his ET encounters and his Fae encounters and things like this. And he had um, days and days of writings in them. And they've been documented. Anyway, when we had our red and black book, the Dalmatians ripped them up because they kept ripping them because they were really thick books. So the kids turned all the pages, they cut out all the teeth marks, and they made them into scrolls. So every time now I think of our scrolls, I think of Jung, synchronicity. So when we pull out a scroll and it says, you'll ask a question, and it says, I don't think so. I laugh to myself because this is synchronicity. This is what he's talking about. So he's like Dr. Joe. Jung is exactly like Dr. Joe. He has this Dr. Joe, which puts
Oh,
on
yeah.
the
Yeah.
serious face.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he's got this Dr. Joe, and you're able to bring both of them on show at call and at will. And like you said, the smirk comes back. So we've all got to look out because
Yeah.
we're coming into the warrior with Dr. Joe smirking. So I feel like we're going to get a lot of voices.
Oh, well, I can feel it. They're all waiting. They're just waiting in line now to come in. I can feel it, that they want to come in and speak and stuff like that. But I'm not. See, I can regulate that now, whereas
Yeah, yeah,
before, because when I used to get drunk, and it disinhibited me, all this stuff used to come out. That's why I ended up in the psychiatric department so many times, right? Because all these voices coming out, like babble all in one go. But I realize now it's just streams of information coming in at different frequencies, right, with different information and skills. And the whole job is to regulate them and to be in charge of it, really. It's fascinating when you were talking about the books. There's a little red book, that's Mao Zedong, the communist leader. He had a little red book as well with the gold thing on the front. But what was I going to say? Yeah, the codes, when you were talking about the scrolls, as you did that, all the letters were coming off in codes and like codes, and that's how I see things sometimes like that, really. But what they've got now is spell checker is almost like another regulation device to get you to all standardize and speak in the correct way now. They're not calling it the Queen's English now, it's the King's English, right, in the UK. And when I type something now on the university, email and stuff like that, it keeps putting red lines underneath it and giving me things to say. Don't say it like that. Say it like this. And what it can't stand, Elsa, it can't stand quirkiness because it doesn't understand quirkiness, right? It doesn't want us to speak in slang, you know, and stuff like that. Because so the more that we can speak and develop our cultural codes, right, the better we can get information across without it being understood by AI and things like that. You see, it's fascinating the way they do this. But the Romans, they were the ones who wanted everything because medicine is mostly based upon Latin, right? All the stuff. But the Romans were so specific and so left-brained, linear, masculine type things, right? That they tried to regulate language, and they talk about past perfect participles and stuff like this, and scansion. They even had scanning going on, right, in those early times as well. So there's lots and lots of stuff here, but I think that the information that we get is beyond words. There are no words to describe it. So we're coming pre-verbally. So how did we communicate before we know how to talk? How did we think to ourselves? How did we pick up information? And I think that we're being led back, right? We're being led back now to focus on feelings first, right? And to use our senses and not words in order to interpret information. What are you laughing at now?
Oh, you said target, so I'm hoping that we didn't communicate in the way I'm thinking that we communicated before language was with gas.
Oh yeah, 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 like SOS dot dot dosh save our souls, our souls. Oh no, don't stop it. We always get down to either shit or gas.
Yeah, well, um, usually, so when we're with the horses, by the way they conduct their bowels is how we know where, where they're at. So, especially with the male ones, they always need to pee. You can't get a good rising, can't get them all rounded up nicely if they've got to pee. So I say, go and take him over in the long grass and see if he, needs to pee. And sure enough, he's like, and then it's like Austin Powers in the toilet going, ah. And then he comes back in, he's all good. So we can tell by their body. But you said when you were with your addiction, you were you were completely gone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When people, I just spoke about this with another, when they're in Alzheimer's, they're completely, mostly gone, or they go in and out.
yeah,
We call them the crooked eye ones. So if usually they're this related, where they're not all there, so they're autistic, the alphabet diseases, they're blocked the program as well, so they're not all there. So these are the ones we were showed that are going to come in and they're in full spirit.
yeah.
They're not embodied enough. They've switched it off. So there'll be the ones around them that have the choice to be embodied with spirit at the same time. So if you have ones around you like this, they're here to help you. It's not
Oh no, I know
they
that.
are. And I really felt this for a year with your mum, with you. You weren't there to help her, and the staff weren't there they were there to see her. You said the staff loved her.
They did.
She helped them.
Yeah,
She showed them signs of themselves that they would never seen before. So I respect that and I honor that and I love that because that's what makes us all apostles, right?
yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
so,
funny you should say that. In the eulogy that I did for my mum, I mentioned the apostleship of the sea, and that's called Maristella, and that's the star of the sea, and it's associated with Mother Mary, right? And that sacred feminine energy. And I know that all my life, from what happened when I was young, 7 years of age, there's young again, Carl Jung, or you call him Jung. But when I was young, right, I had a complete vision of the most beautiful woman in the world, right? And it was this sacred feminine energy. And I know that I've been guided by that energy all my life, right? And it's coming in strong now in all its various forms because it comes in as Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Mary, the Mother of God, Isis, and all that. So I get guided by that energy, right? The feminine, you know. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I think that that's actually what's happening now. That in a bodily sense, it's the resurrection of the vagus nerve. And everybody's starting to talk about now the vagus nerve and resetting the vagus nerve and stuff like this. So that's what's actually happening is that the feminine is coming to take her rightful place, and she's almost like re-regulating the masculine side of that, which is the sympathetic nervous system. So what's actually happening in our bodies, as above, so below, as within, so without. All these things are falling into place now. If we can just get out of the way and stop over analyzing things, because we'll get the information that we need 3 months after we've taken the action. So all the information will come retrospectively, but the ego always wants to know beforehand. So if it doesn't like what it's seeing, it can try and duck and dive and dodge and weave. And Elsa, I know that the most difficult thing for a human being is to not know or not need to know. And if you can get into a position where you've got enough faith and trust that you just don't need to know, but you just trust that what emerges next will be exactly the right thing, then I think that's the way forward.
You said it emerges. So, you said Neptune and Poison. So I've got them, those two there working, and then you said the Star of the Sea.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, here we go. So, Star of the Sea is you spoke of the feminine, so it's Mifdet. It's Semket. Semket is CM's Magi ET. So CM's Magi ET is to see the muse or the mans or the mollusks of us or the E's Magi in the Anu. So when you say it's the dog star,
yeah,
it's the sea lion. She's the mongoose, the sea lion. These are all dogs. She comes out of the ocean and she rises up within us, and she is here to remind. She's one of the only. She is the only deity that Nef and Ikem had in their realms, and they were. She was the only one that was allowed. Is because she would rise up within from the ocean, like you described, rise up in the ocean, and rebirth. They called her. They said she was destruction. And she wasn't destruction. It was what does not serve you now must go, must end for the new to come through. And she would remind you of the essence of yourself, which is what we're talking about today. So you're saying, I've never thought of her, Muftet, as it's a dog star. I've never thought of her like that until you said it, but that's what it is. It's the dog star. This word is also confirmed by how she greets us. You're going to love this one. Our kids love it because we're swearing. It's beach. It's This is what you call a female dog.
yeah.
Mm. It's very clever, these words, right?
Love it.
Beach, beach, beach. Okay, yeah, that's so funny. Thanks. So now if I bring that one up, they're gonna just be ticking the crazy box. All right, now look what she said. Tick.
I've just got
No.
I've just got jeans, like denims, right? But I got sea dogs because when I was a kid, sea dog jeans were the jeans to have then. So there's sea dogs and
Yeah.
jeans as well. I got flip that around, Joe. Right. So it's all about oceanic consciousness. It's about the sea. It's about Neptune. It's about Poseidon. And there was another one that they gave me, and I thought I've heard of that before. It'll come to me if it needs to. So we're definitely going into this here and getting all this information in. And
Yeah. Well, the denim is demon, but
of course, of course it would be.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
denim is denim, but it's also one of the words they use to describe blue. They gave it many different names, blue, because they didn't actually know what it was. Many cultures didn't know what they were talking about. So So, okay, talk about crazies. Imagine all the people that could see blue, but there's only like 20 people in the world that can see blue. All the rest can't see blue. Can you see how crazy those people would look? Because people would be going, "That's not that color.
I love
That's
that
not. It's
color. I get
it's the
this all
Black Sea."
aquamarine, aquamarine,
Ah,
right? And then the lapis lazuli, the Egyptian things, I absolutely love that color with gold. It's a big thing for me,
yeah. But if you brought that color up back
Yeah,
then, they
yeah.
go, "Oh,
What's he
he's
talking
off the
about? Yeah,
boat.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
going crackers again."
I'm sure I'm used to it here now. I mean, that's why I love these conversations because most of the people who are listening understand what we're talking about. But it's how do we get that message across for people? This is the image I've got as well, is that the soul is being empowered now. And this force that's coming in is actually lighting up the soul, which is knocking on our bodies to say, surrender now, let me in because I need to. And I keep getting the word infiltration. So the light body now, or the soul, or the car, or the Merkaba, or whatever you want to call this thing, is the reason that we're feeling the pain is because our habits that we've developed in the first part of our life, they're actually obstructing the flow of the light coming in. So the more that we can do this and stretch out the connective tissue and move and do all these gentle movements, the more the pain will go away as the light body infiltrates more and more of us, really. So in the end, we're bringing, it sounds a bit grand this, but we're actually bringing heaven to earth now. And I think that that's the way. We don't need to look upwards for answers. We need to let heaven come through us, work through us, and go back to Mother Earth. And I think that's when that we'll be like fuses then. And there's all these lights will go on, and the reconnections will come in, and things will start to change in a bigger way then. I've got no idea what I'm
Well,
going on about, but I do. I know at one level, and at another level, I've got no idea what's going on.
I keep seeing how you speak about the breath. So you put one hand on your heart. Which hand do you put on your heart? I'm just
It
curious. You
depends
tell me.
whichever how you'd hold a baby or a pet, right? So for
Oh,
me,
okay.
I put my left hand on my heart and my right hand on my solar plexus. But then I took my left elbow in then, and I've got like a snuggly feeling, that snuggly feeling, almost like I'm breastfeeding. I've got a good pair of breasts as well. So it's almost like I'm breastfeeding from the left chest, you know what I mean? But when I get that snuggly feeling, I almost like get a connection feeling. And I do that meditation called cradling the sacred child, right? And what I do then is I get people then to imagine that the child, you can hear its heartbeat and it merges with your heartbeat then. And that's when two hearts become one. So I guide people through that one. And normally there's all sorts of wailing going on, and oh, it's so lovely. And then I have to say to them in the end, and by the way, the child is you, and they all go, "Oh God, it's so lovely," So, yeah, so that's what I do. But if you feel better the other way round, it's whichever way suits you, really.
All right. So this is my interpretation because so you have this hand and then this hand like this. This is Heaven's Gate. This is what doors were. And sometimes this one opens more, sometimes this one opens more. And this is what, when you're putting both of them down, you're saying both of you hold still for a bit,
Yeah,
poise, pause for a moment. Within, heaven is within. So you've closed the gates, you're sitting with it, and then they let out all the crying, and then they're loosened, and then their hinges are working correctly. Sometimes the hinges don't work, and that's how it feels, like the creaky shoulders, and that's what's happening to us. So you close the gates for a while. Don't allow anyone else in. It's just you and all
yeah,
of yous, because there's a few of yous. If you only think there's one of you, you are crazy,
yeah,
literally. Because if you only knew how many yous you are, and so
yeah.
you are, you're all the.
Unhinged, unhinged.
So yeah, close these. So when you're doing that breathing, I'm seeing heaven's gates. It's nirvana.
It's lovely, and it's a lovely feeling, and it works. I just know as soon as I do that and get that snuggly feeling, that I'm back into coherence then, you know, and everything starts to flow. So I think more than anything else is, as I keep saying to you, is it's a simple program for complicated characters, really. And I think what the world does is it wants us to be more complicated. It wants us to go faster and faster. But if we can do this, right, and just step out of it and say, hang on a second, I just need a little bit more time to consider that. Thanks very much. Don't call us, we'll call you. And what happens is the egomaniacs, right? They can't stand it. They try and rush it on even further and stuff like that. That's what I've learned now. I used to say yes to everything, but I say no, 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 all the way along now until it feels right for me. So sometimes if you're a gross people pleaser, it takes a bit of courage to start saying no, you know. And I think that's what I would suggest to people is from my own experience, it's almost like saying, just give me a bit more time. You don't mind, do you? And you can see, look in their eyes, and they've got that thing that we get sometimes. They want to stab your neck out and stuff like this. But the point is, I think that the more relaxed we become, the more this light starts to come through. And it's actually the light that protects us because we don't need to fight anybody or anything anymore. Doesn't mean to say that action doesn't take place because we get inspired action, but we don't need to emotionally react because that's always from a place of defensiveness, which is to do with the fight or flight response. So when I was told, for by this time we have been placed in a position of neutrality, I think that that's where we're needing to get to, really. And how do you get to it? Not by thinking. It's about letting go of thinking. Here's something else that came to me. You mentioned before about marks, right? Well, the epigenetic, I see epigenetics, it's like the shroud that covers the essential self. And I think what's happening now is we're turning away, right, at the shroud now to let the light to come through. But what they call those little tight knots in the epigenome, they're called marks, epigenetic marks, they're called. I just thought I'd chuck that in.
Oh, this is good. So a mark is so I've had this is confirmed from many around the globe, by the way. The ones who've written to me, they'll know what I'm talking about. They've sent me, it looks like a number 8 again, but now spin this. And this vagus nerve is that point there. So you don't want the gases getting stuck there because this will blow up or that'll blow up. And, so you got to keep spinning the two. This is why this works on here, on your tummy,
Marvelous.
because it's reminding you that heaven, he in Eve,
Say that
he
again?
in Eve, heaven is he in Eve.
Yeah.
He in Eve. He in even. Even is the door's closed. He in Eve means you are snuggly. You are being cuddled by the the yous of you. Um, and this child is within you. This is why we always say go back to that before all the goop, because that's how we got here. And it's a lot of cleaning up your own cupboard all the time, but it's okay. And there's no rush, even though I like to rush everything. There is no rush. You don't have to have the whole cupboard clean in one day. It's not going to get clean in one day because you think you've got the whole cupboard clean, and then you come home and there's a car flipped over in your
Yeah. Yeah.
front
Yeah.
yard, and you've lost the spider, and the cat's left out. And then
Right.
you got to go to work the next day. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, come
Oh,
on.
I know, but it's hard, isn't it? I mean, it's when you get to that stage where you know that you're a spirit in a skin suit, right? When you know, right, that we're not, the soul's not in us, that we're actually in the soul, right? When you start feeling that, then freedom starts to come. Then, really, I think. But just to say about the vagus nerve is very active in the tummy, in the stomach, right? So it feeds information right, about the chemical constituents in the microbiome, right? So if you keep getting disturbance in your stomach, it may be an indication from the sacred feminine to say you need to change your diet. And what I like is I like Ayurvedic medicine because in Ayurveda they have three different body types, you know, and each of those body types has got a different chemical constitution in their microbiome, right? And therefore they need to eat different things. So some people with one constitution will like sweet things, some like sour things, and some like a mixture. So unless you're actually going with your soul's essence, and this is why I think if you listen to what your vagus nerve and your body's telling you, it will tell you through disturbance or through a feeling of, oh, that's really lovely. It will tell you what agrees with you or not. The difficulty is we've been that programmed to eat at certain times and to eat certain things. There's a whole load of cognitive dissonance that causes disturbance. So I don't know why I've said that. It's like I get into lecturing mode sometimes, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, the it comes back to again your senses, the gas in us. This is what you're saying. You got to go back to you're, you're taking us back to gas all
Yeah.
the
Oh.
time.
Well, you mentioned
But
argon, and I got Aragon, so I thought, oh, there we go, we're
yeah,
off again.
well,
Yeah,
the argon. Well, argon is dragon, which is the gin, which we go, which I learned through the noble. I'm not mucking around with the noble gases because
no.
those guys are big. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but he's the argon is also the the lazy. They called it the lazy gas. But he was also classed as sometimes as the devil, the demon. It wasn't that he was lazy; he was just non-reactive,
yeah, yeah,
and that's what we've been saying through this whole thing. So the whole show's just about gas,
yeah,
really.
yeah.
It's just all,
And you can change the tone as well. There's like a
it's
bass note, and there's a high pitch one, really. It depends on your
oh
muscle tone at the time. So you've got muscle tone, and you've got sound tone and gas tone and all that sort of thing.
yeah. It's funny because my favorite movie one of my favorite movies as a child that I would play over and over and know word for word was Gone with the
Oh, yeah,
Wind.
yeah. Well, mine was Blazing Saddles. You ever seen that one? Yeah, where they're all sitting around the campfire after the beans.
Like an orchestra.
Yeah,
Oh. Well, again, it is though. Come back to your senses, and your
yeah,
senses are telling you, and you're okay, and that's why people like us show up, and we're absolutely crazy. We're batters, but we've surrendered, and we're being open to tell this so that it creates ease in others, and through it creating ease in others, creates ease in us and our lifestyle, because we believe this all goes out, and hopefully it has the 6 degrees of separation, it will be affecting everyone, which we're noticing.
yeah,
I have noticed a lot of people that have not been kind have become kinder. This is a
yeah.
good result.
No, it is. It is. It's slowly, as you say, slowly but surely, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, right? But it's just
Mm.
if we stay with the breath, stay in the moment as best we can, right? And just try and become more aware of our body. Let me just tell you this final thing before we go. My sense of smell now, I can't go into the supermarket. I can't go anywhere near the detergent aisles now because what happens is, right? I smell it, I taste it, my throat closes straight away, and I get a horrendous headache. So we're highly sensitive people like ourselves. We are like the canaries in the mines, really. And I think that what we're doing now, using our individual senses, whether it be clairvoyance, clairaudience, or clairsmelliance, whatever the word for that is, that we've been given expanded sensory awareness as almost like leaders or way showers just to feed back to everybody else to say, be cautious now. And I think that's how I see my job now, really. So what was really a curse for most of my life, I am starting to see it now because I really feel my purpose now. I'm starting to see it now as a gift, really, you know, until I get
Well,
tired and then it all comes back then and I think, what's it all about, Alfie?
yeah, well, when you're tired, you had enough.
Yeah,
That's it. This breathing, I'm going to say this again because this is still a big, this mucus is a big thing. If this is happening and you're out and about, like if you're in the grocery store, go straight to the onions, put an onion under your foot, smash it with your foot, and instantly breathe it. I promise you, you'll be able to breathe straight away. Um, it sounds drastic, but it's been really close a few times for
Yeah.
me. And it's caused like stroke-like symptoms in myself and my face and things. Yeah, so once you have those things, it takes you a while to recover from them if they ever recover at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just saying it is very real, but there's ways around it that are so simple. And we've done this with our horses, our dogs, puppies, kittens. It's instant and it's as simple as the smell again. So,
Well, I'm gonna do that myself. And had I maybe have known that or remembered it when I went, it might have stopped me going to the hospital and stuff like that. But you live and learn. We're all well.
yeah,
I'm learning a bit more every day now. And
yeah. And it's
I'm
so
all right.
interesting that it's a sense. It's
So,
just the smell. As
yeah,
soon as this, honestly, when this thing with the onion, I was like, that cannot work. That cannot work. And I wish I knew this with Jerry because Jerry was born with whooping cough. So for 6 weeks, wow, like touch and go. And I had it as well. But if I had an onion, I would have had so much ease back then. So by hearing these words,
yeah,
it brings us back to our senses.
it does. And I'm getting ring, ring, ring. Pay attention, son. So I'll pay attention to that as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, Dr. Joy.
Right,
It's been
Mrs. D.
lovely. I'm
Thank.
glad you're okay.
Oh, I'm all right. I'm all right. You can't keep a good man down. And
Yep.
uh, uh,
You're going
so
to be
thank.
having to make Cat lots of cups of
Oh
tea.
God, yeah. I'm still staying out of the way at the moment. It's best place for.
Would you, would you like me to cook dinner?
Would you like a cup of tea now, darling? Right, Elsa. Well, thank you, and thanks for keeping an eye on me because I know you do, and it works both ways. That you know that. So I'll speak to you whenever, and thanks very much, and thank you everybody for listening in, and I hope you're all well. Onion medicine. All right. Bye bye. Bye bye.